Two of Joe Biden's top White House advisors privately shared some pretty searing criticism toward progressive members of Congress. Now, this was all revealed in the upcoming book, This Will Not Pass, Trump, Biden, and the Battle for America's Future, written by New York Times reporters Jonathan Martin and Alex Burns. Now, according to the book, Cedric Richmond, who represented Louisiana's 2nd congressional district from 2011 to 2021, became irate after the Sunrise Movement attacked Biden for naming him as a senior advisor and director of the Office of Public Liaison in late November of 2020. So what did he do? Well, he called a friend to complain about it. Apparently, Richmond telephoned a friend to express his anger at the group of progressive female House members known as the Squad, all of whom have close ties to Sunrise. He was particularly angry at two major Sunrise allies, Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and Representative Rashida Tlaib. In fact, he told his friend that the left-wing lawmakers were effing idiots, and we have to censor it for the show. He didn't censor it during this discussion. And Cenk, apparently what really upset him was they had the audacity to point to his cozy ties to the fossil fuel industry. Because remember, calling them out on the corruption is something that they just cannot deal with.
And guys, this is a really important story because this is exactly the kind of groupthink that exists in Washington, where calling out somebody for their corruption is considered the biggest violation of etiquette, and people consider you mean and terrible person. How could you do that to poor Cedric Richmond? Just he's been taking all that oil money and stuffing it in his pockets and not doing anything about climate change. And you're actually calling him out on it? No, the problem isn't calling him out on it. The problem is that he's doing it in the first place. Well, you should tell Cedric Richmond, if you're a progressive in Congress, well, maybe you should stop thinking about getting bribed by the oil companies. Now, if they did that, oh, it's outrageous that he's in the club. He's an elite. He's an elite. You cannot criticize the elites. But I ask you this, does it look like Cedric Richmond feels the same way about progressives? Also in Congress, also his colleagues? No, it doesn't appear that way at all. He can say anything he wants about progressives. He doesn't have to be polite to them. And there is no culture in Washington that thinks, oh, I can't believe Cedric Richmond did that. This story's been out. Nobody's outraged by it. It didn't make almost any news at all.
None.
If Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez had called Cedric Richmond an effing idiot, it would make unbelievable news. And everyone, not just the Democratic establishment, but most importantly, the mainstream media and cable news would say, oh, AOC, look at this. Progressive, they're so disrespectful. And Cedric Richmond agrees with her basically on everything. Not true, total lie. The media lies to you about that all the time, okay? Oh, and now she's being so disrespectful. They did this to Nina Turner, you remember? We did a town hall where Killer Mike said that he couldn't believe that Clyburn didn't ask for anything in return from Biden for endorsing him in South Carolina. And he said, that was a stupid strategy because you should at least get something back. They said, oh no, you called Clyburn stupid, and Nina Turner was on the same stage, so that's why Clyburn's feelings were hurt. And there were dozens of articles. Nina Turner hurt Jim Clyburn's feelings. What a monster she is. And that hurt her really bad in that election, because voters who don't know anything but watch television, honestly, Democratic primary voters that don't go online, they're like, oh, I guess Nina Turner was super disrespectful, only because they framed it that way. And when Cedric Richmond, a conservative Democrat, calls us, and in this case, it's not even us, that would be the most normal thing in the world. Oh my God, outsiders that aren't in the club, you can say anything you want about actual Americans, but when he says it even about people in the club, they're like, oh yeah, of course they're progressives. You can say anything you want about them. No one in Washington thought that that was abnormal. And they probably, most of them thought, attaboy. So no, there's no reason in the world why progressives should do unilateral disarmament. You should fight back against Cedric Richmond and Hakeem Jeffries and Jim Clyburn and Pelosi and Schumer and Biden. Go get them. Stop sitting there waiting while they savage you. Attack back. Stop being so goddamn polite.
No, I couldn't have said it better myself. I totally agree with what you're saying here. And I want everyone to just really take in what is happening in the country, right? The broader trend that we're seeing, and how, yes, the Republican Party is awful in so many different ways and is a threat to our democratic system, our democratic process. We all acknowledge that. But what paved the way for them? Who empowers them? It's the corporate Democrats. I mean, the corporate Democrats have emboldened the right wing to turn into the monsters that they've turned into, who have absolutely no problem, bringing the country closer and closer to fascism, toward an authoritarian state. Not only do the corporate Democrats fail in essentially providing an opposition party that's effective enough to squash their efforts, they don't offer anything in exchange. They don't offer anything as a substitute to what the right wing in America is offering. So when it comes to progressives, it's not just that we're trying to pressure them to fight back. They have a mandate to fight back. It is an obligation, a requirement. That is the reason why they were put in a position of power in the first place. They were supposed to be the ones who come in and they offer something else to Americans, something that corporate Democrats have failed to offer. And look, I get it. Once you're in Congress, once you're dealing with these people day in, day out is a bit much. They work like 6 months out of the year. But you get what I'm saying. They're in the room with these corporate Democrats, and sometimes it's better to go along to get along. But we're talking about the future of the country. We're talking about the failures of the Democratic Party that has emboldened and empowered the right wing in this country. And if progressives don't fight back, if they just sit back, see these stories, and they don't call corporate Democrats out on what really fuels them, then there's really no point in serving in Congress in the first place. You're just another run-of-the-mill Democrat. You might not take corporate PAC money, you might not take money from big donors, but who cares if you sit there and you don't fight back and you just kind of bow your head and go along with what corporate Democrats want? We're gonna lose, but even worse than that, we're gonna lose the country.
Yeah, no, progressives go to Washington, then all of a sudden they get super comfortable and they believe in the culture of Washington. Now, I have facts to back that up. The Progressive Caucus didn't endorse Nina Turner. They went and endorsed her conservative Democrat in the primary that she's running against. Why? Well, she's one of their colleagues. It would be rude not to endorse the corrupt person who took millions and millions of dollars from PACs that want her to do the bidding of the oil companies, the drug companies, the lobby for Israel, etc. All those people poured money. You know that she took that money. You know that's how she won the election. You know that those are like the oil companies and the drug companies are the people that we're fighting against to get our legislation passed. But yet you're gonna back Shontel Brown because it would be rude. Well, it is deeply rude to actual progressive voters that you guys seem to have no principles and no fight in you. No fight at all. Look, I found the Justice Democrats. This time around, they didn't endorse Nina Turner. I'm deeply embarrassed about that. I don't have anything to do with them now. And if that's the way they're gonna think, I don't want anything to do with them. And I don't know of a single person in Congress that's endorsed Nina Turner. Man, they run. That is sickening, man. It's called loyalty, you should look into it. And you think that by picking off your own friends, that somehow Cedric Richmond is gonna be your new friend? No. The minute your back is turned, he calls you an effing idiot. And by the way, if you don't fight him back, what are you? Are you brilliant by constantly laying down for him, for laying down for Shontel Brown, for laying down to all of these conservative Democrats? Nah, man, nah. Look, I've told you guys 1,000 times about Rebellion PAC and how we're one of the very, very few people fighting on Nina Turner's side. Why? Because nobody else would. I had to set up another damn PAC so that we could actually get some fighting progressives. I'm super proud of it. HelpTheRebellion.com. If nobody else will come, we'll come. We're the cavalry, and we're always gonna back progressives. And if you're a progressive in Congress, or you think you are, you should start acting like one and actually be strong and fight back for your voters, not your goddamn colleagues. Colleagues, my ass, they are opposed to you on every policy, and they say every terrible thing behind your back. And who do you attack? You attack your friends and your allies and do their bidding for them. For once, stand up and fight back. But you won't, you'll find me rude because I'm not in the club. I'm being terribly rude. And you'll go back to listening to the Richmonds and the Clyburns of the world and the Pelosi's and the Schumers, and you'll do nothing. That has been the trend so far. Get up and fight back. Otherwise, are you really progressive? Thanks for watching The Young Turks. I really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.